Hey y'all, how's it going? I'm trading the ES futures on a 2000 tick chart with a 21 EMA. So I've got the overnight high up here and the overnight low down here. These were our key levels for the day. I started trading right around here at 8 Central Time. So starting off, we had this failed second entry right here. We have first entry short, second entry short, failure. Now, the problem is we are going sideways. We have these highs right here, and it's pretty clear we've been going sideways. So when we close above the EMA here, it's right into that. So I just avoided that. There's no reason to enter on something like that. That's just too risky. But we do end up pushing higher here. Now, notice when we have this push up, we have this break and then attempt at a new high. And to the tick, we did not make a new high. But I do want to point out these bodies did close higher than the bodies inside the trend, and bodies are more important than wicks. Which, for example, if you have a trend line here, and price wicks out of it and then closes back in, then that's just considered a wick out. But then say you have that same trend line and price pushes out and then it closes out, that's considered a break. And that's because, bodies, the closes are more important than wicks. And so here, even though to the tick with that wick we did not make a new high, the bodies are closing higher than the bodies from over here. So that can still act as a played out trend. So you do got to watch out for that. We basically have uptrend, break, new high right here. Notice with those bodies once again. And then as soon as we get that, we immediately start pushing below the EMA and we attempt to reverse back down. Now, considering this uptrend basically just played out right here, and that the fact that we had this measured move down in play, that's why I believe this loss. And also, once again, 3 bars in a row struggling to get through that EMA, that's just confirming this bearishness. And considering we had this measured move still in play, the uptrend played out, I should have avoided going long right here. It's a couple of things. Once again, the measured move down is still in play right after that played out with those bodies right there. So, considering that it got choppy, it was struggling to get through the EMA, I should have just avoided this. It pushed higher. That made me feel like we could get to those highs. But once again, like I said, there's just a few things that are wrong with it. So anyway, it does end up stopping me out. It's not the worst looking trade. Like, I don't blame you if you took it. Like I said, I took it myself. I got stopped out on it. But there are some things that I can tell with it. Like I said, with those bodies and then with this. If we had gotten another attempt down, then I really think it would have been an okay trade if it was a significant attempt down. But anyway, so I ended up getting stopped out on that. We pushed lower here. Now let me zoom back out to show the big picture. Let me move this back. So on a big picture, we're starting to get this second big leg down here. Now after we start pushing lower here, that's when I drew this wider trend line. At the time I didn't, at the time of that trade, I didn't have this trend line here. After we push lower here, then I drew out this wider trend line. And then, of course, here, as we push lower, we get this first entry to that trend line. I see, to the tick, I always point this out when I see it. I see that to the tick, we have first entry short, second entry short. But to me, this is just one leg up. I can draw it in this trend. I just see a leg up, closing in STT right there on that short, so I don't like that. And then this lower high is just choppy. So anyway, we push on lower here. We almost retest that overnight low, but we have a small push up, and then finally we break out. So we're making the second leg down. We have a couple of smaller legs making this larger leg, and then we start finding resistance. We find a bottom, we push up, we break, and it's clear we're forming this range right here. We had this chop from over here, and then after we broke out and pushed back in, it starts to hold again. So right here, when I was looking for a short over here, I was considering that the lows could be down here. We have that low right there, and then that wick matches. But this right here, it was just way too consistent to ignore. It was way too consistent. It was way too consistent to want to push price through that, especially when you got all that. It's just, this low was just too clear to ignore. So I ended up wanting to use a limit order. And so after it ticked lower, I put in a limit order, but very quickly I canceled it once it just blasted all the way down. So no fill on that. I didn't even have my limit order up for very long. I canceled it very quickly after placing it because it just dropped on down. But, we had 2 legs back. Now, I don't like it right after that bar. I wanted it closing back below this range right here. And so I like this area. I do like this trade, but you would not have been able to get filled on it with a limit order, like I said. So, but if you, were looking at this area for a short, you were absolutely doing the right thing, thinking that. So anyway, we push on lower here. We get this breakout pullback at just a first entry. We push on lower again. We start going into this chop here. We get a first entry off the key entry point, just a first entry, so of course don't take that. And then here we continue higher. We break out of this channel here, so now we have downtrend, break, and then we end up getting this two-legged break here. Now these two legs are perfectly measured up. Let me show you here. So these two legs right here are perfectly measured, near perfect. Let me adjust them to be exact. So yeah, those are almost near perfect. It might be a tick higher or so. Now here I did enter a short. Now, and it was because it was a perfect measured legs retesting the overnight low. We had this larger measured move down in play, so I wanted to find a short here. Now, we triggered right here, and it was already getting choppy by the time I got an opportunity to enter. It finally triggered below this bearish bar right here, and it was already clearly in this range, but I entered anyway because of the big picture context. But when we ticked lower and pushed back up and just kept chopping in this range, I got out on this bar right here because it just kept following along with this chop. So after we continued in this small range right here, I did not want to enter into that EMA. I was no longer confident in the trade. So I got out at break even on that bar right there. And so, which, let me see, I don't think I would have been, so I would have been filled at 1-to-1. Either way, I don't think this is a good trade. I really do not think that's a good trade. I mean, it's good, but after you see it continuing to go in this chop, it's like half above the overnight low, half below. I would just get out at break even because it was already cutting it close with how choppy it was getting at this point here. But I ignored it because of the big picture, but clearly it just wanted to continue going sideways after that trigger. At this point, look at that range. That is just too strong, especially to be chopping above and below the overnight level. That's just way too choppy. So I would just get out at that point there. But, I do think it looks good at this point. But, you got to have discernment. You got to know when to get out. It does end up pushing lower here. Not much lower, but we push lower here. And now notice how I have how I had it drawn before with these two legs. Eventually, I extended them into this one leg right here, and then I copied that over. And then notice how when I draw this, it had a structure break, from this trend line here. So I just wanted to point that out, that I care about structure breaks, not always wicks lower. But we can see, this set of two legs, we broke that structure right there. I had another set of two legs before reversing. That's just two legs on a bigger picture. It can be hard to see because there's so many up and down moves here. But, when you train your eyes, when you study the chart, it gets a whole lot easier to see. We have two legs on a bigger picture there before reversing back down. Now, like I say, price action levels get bigger as more time goes on, but you do have to take it one level at a time. So when we have this uptrend right here and we break, now I don't consider it to be first attempt higher, second attempt higher. To me, this whole leg down right here is the break. It's clear, downtrend, break, attempt at a new low. So this whole leg down here is the break. So uptrend, break, and then we have first attempt higher and then second attempt higher. Now at this point here, we can go lower and then still get another leg up and then get a bigger picture second attempt higher. But you got to take it one level at a time. It was clear. We had uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher. We're off the overnight low, retesting it. We ticked higher than this green bar and basically trapped all the way lower here. So I really did like this as a failure entry just to get out before these lows. I did need a limit order because, like I said, I was open to a bigger picture second attempt happening, so I wasn't going to push it past this resistance level because it could also easily make a double bottom and then make that second leg, which let me make that more clear really quick. I'm going to remove a couple of drawings really quick. So we had this leg here, and then I was using this push up as that second leg, which you can do on a small as a smaller picture trade, but you have to be open to the fact that it could make a second leg up like that. So this is why I wanted to get out before this resistance down here, this support, because it could easily bounce off of that and get a second leg like this and then kind of form a big picture failed second entry. And so you got to be open to things like that. Let me remove that arrow and then put this back just to show this, how we had this two-legged move down. It didn't quite reach it. It kind of acted like a fade here. We had this resistance. We broke out. We started trying to fade back in here. And so anyway, we kind of started, we got a bit of a range in this area here. And so we faded back up. I'm going to draw out, I'm going to see how this fits right here. This is a possibility. It does look like we faded back in, and now this kind of we're breaking back out. It kind of acting like a breakout pullback. Of course, we went significantly back in, but that's kind of how it's acting here. So we're about to reach that measured move. It looks like we're reaching it right now, so we could end up reversing higher here. Best bet, what I would do is if we get two clear legs and it rejects the EMA and this range level right here, then we can still get a short, but I would like to see two measured legs, because once it reaches a measured move, it's likely to reverse strong. And so if you can get two measured legs, then that's basically just a reversal failure. So we'll see how that works. But if you end up pushing above the EMA, like it's not even there, you could easily get a reversal pattern. So like a failed second entry holding above the EMA, holding above this range line right here, and we can definitely get a great long. So it depends on how it sets up. We have been overall bearish today, so if we get a couple legs back holding, absolutely I would look for a short. But once again, you got to be open to, if we hold back above, you can look for a long. Just if you get a reversal pattern, a failed second entry, make sure you got room to here, because you don't want to enter right into that. But anyway, that's what I'm thinking. Just it's kind of like about what the EMA wants to do. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I'm done for the day. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped out in some kind of way. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.